America was built on the belief that freedom must be defended, not hoped for, not negotiated, but protected by those willing to stand in the dark so others can live in the light. This belief shaped every major conflict of the 20th century, from Normandy to the jungles of Vietnam. But the battlefield America understood was about to disappear. Welcome to Chronicles of War. This is Episode 1, The Birth of Delta Force, America's Answer to Terror. For generations, American soldiers crossed oceans, stormed beaches, and fought through jungles and deserts to ensure that threats to liberty were met with overwhelming resolve. But by the early 1970s, a new kind of enemy emerged, one that did not wear uniforms, did not respect borders, and did not fight on battlefields. This enemy attacked civilians, hijacked aircraft, and used fear itself as a weapon. And for the first time in modern history, the United States discovered a dangerous truth. Despite its unmatched military power, it was not prepared for this new war. What followed was not a retreat, nor an excuse, but a reckoning, one that would give birth to one of the most elite, secretive, and formidable units ever created. This is the story of how America answered terror, not with words, but with action. The decades following World War II reshaped the global order, but they also shattered the rules of warfare. Conflicts were no longer defined by armies facing each other across borders. Instead, violence moved into airports, city streets, and international events broadcast live across the world. Terrorism became a strategic tool, designed not to defeat armies, but to humiliate nations and paralyze governments through fear. The massacre at the 1972 Munich Olympics made this painfully clear. While the world watched in horror, the United States watched in realization. America had no dedicated force trained specifically to stop such attacks, rescue hostages under extreme conditions, or strike terrorist networks with precision. Unlike conventional war, terrorism offered no clear enemy, no front lines, and no decisive victory. Every attack forced governments to choose between security and freedom, a dilemma with no easy answers. Other nations adapted quickly. Britain relied on the battle-hardened Special Air Service. Germany created elite counterterrorism units almost overnight. Israel refined a doctrine of rapid response and surgical operations. These units were small, selective, and politically risky. They operated in secrecy, often without public acknowledgement. But the United States, a nation capable of deploying entire divisions across the globe, lacked a unit designed for this new battlefield. It was not a failure of courage or resources. It was a failure of doctrine. And that gap would soon have devastating consequences. Among those who recognized this vulnerability was a soldier who believed that American lives should never be lost because of institutional hesitation. Colonel Charles Beckwith had served alongside the British SAS and witnessed firsthand what a small, highly trained, autonomous force could accomplish. He saw men selected not for rank or reputation, but for resilience, judgment, and the ability to operate alone in hostile environments. Beckwith returned home convinced that the United States needed something radically different. He wasn't asking for glory, he was asking for readiness, a force designed not for conventional war, but for the moments when everything went wrong. For years, his warnings went largely ignored. The idea of a small, elite counterterrorism unit clashed with traditional military thinking. America fought wars with scale and firepower. Precision units operating in secrecy were seen as unnecessary, even risky. Beckwith's ideas were not rejected because they were wrong, but because they challenged tradition. Creating such a unit meant admitting vulnerability, something large institutions rarely do easily. But history would soon prove Beckwith right. In 1979, the unthinkable happened. 52 American diplomats were taken hostage in Tehran. The images of blindfolded Americans paraded before cameras sent shockwaves across the country. The United States could not allow this humiliation to stand. Operation Eagle Claw was launched to rescue them, a complex multi-branch mission that relied on perfect coordination. It never reached the objective. Mechanical failures, miscommunication, and structural weaknesses doomed the operation before it truly began. 8 American servicemen lost their lives in the Iranian desert. The hostages remained captive. The nation mourned and demanded answers. This was not merely a failed mission. It was a warning. America could no longer rely on improvisation when confronting terror. The operation exposed deep structural problems, too many command layers, incompatible equipment, and no single unit responsible for mission success. The cost was too high. In the aftermath of failure, resistance vanished. The need was undeniable. Approval was finally given to create a unit unlike anything the United States had ever fielded. In 1977, Delta Force was officially established, built on principles that challenged traditional military culture. Operators would be selected from across the armed forces, stripped of rank in the field, and trained to think independently under extreme pressure. Selection would not favor strength alone, but intelligence, discipline, and mental endurance. Missions would remain classified. Success would be measured not by medals, but by silence. Delta Force was not designed to fight wars in the open. It was designed to prevent them from escalating, to act where diplomacy failed and time ran out. It represented America's acknowledgement that freedom in the modern world required precision as much as power. Delta Force represented a cultural shift away from rigid hierarchy and toward trust in individual judgment. This philosophy would influence every major American special operations unit that followed. Much of Delta Force's history remains hidden, locked behind classified files and unspoken agreements. And that is by design. Its true legacy is not found in public records, but in the moments when escalation never happened. When force was applied precisely enough that history barely noticed. This was not just the creation of an elite unit. It was the establishment of a quiet promise that when new threats emerge, America will not hesitate to adapt, not loudly, not recklessly, but deliberately. But its influence reshaped American special operations forever. It forced the military to adapt, to modernize, and to confront threats on their own terms. Born from vulnerability and failure, Delta Force became a symbol of resolve, proof that when America recognizes a weakness, it does not ignore it, it corrects it. Delta Force did more than fill a tactical gap. It forced the United States military to rethink how it prepared for uncertainty. Training shifted away from rigid checklists and toward adaptability. Selection emphasized judgment over brute strength. Failure was studied, not hidden. Silence became a measure of success. Unlike conventional forces, units like Delta Force were designed to operate without recognition. No parades, no announcements, often no confirmation at all. In democratic societies, this silence can feel uncomfortable. But in counterterrorism, silence often means lives were saved before violence ever reached the public. This was not just the creation of an elite unit. It was America's answer to terror. Quiet, relentless, unyielding. From the shadows of the Cold War to the uncertain conflicts of the modern era, the unit quietly evolved alongside the threats it was designed to confront. While its name rarely appeared in headlines, its influence could be felt wherever crises demanded speed, discretion, and absolute precision. As global power shifted and new regions of instability emerged, America's most sensitive missions no longer followed predictable patterns. They unfolded without declarations, without press briefings, and often without acknowledgement. In those moments, the same principles forged in the late 1970s continued to guide action: adaptability, silence, and resolve. There were times when aircraft crossed borders without announcement, when targets were isolated not by armies, but by intelligence, when outcomes were visible long before explanations ever were, and just as often, when explanations never came at all. For the public, these moments passed quietly: a sudden change in leadership, a crisis that ended before it escalated, a threat that vanished without confrontation. For those watching closely, the pattern was familiar. Delta Force did not exist to be seen. It existed to ensure that some conflicts never reached the evening news. The absence of chaos, the absence of escalation, the absence of war. This deliberate ambiguity became a feature, not a flaw. In an age of instant information, silence itself became a strategic advantage. Operations designed to resolve crises before they became conflicts required not only tactical excellence, but political restraint. What mattered was not recognition, but control. Decades later, that framework remains. Different regions, different targets, different challenges, the same principles. The threats of today may look different, but the lesson remains the same. Adaptation is not optional. It is survival. History remembers battles. We remember how nations adapt to survive. This is Chronicles of War. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel.